The midnight knock. The night was too quiet. Lyra sat on the edge of her small bed, holding a broken photo frame. The glass had cracked years ago, but she still kept it. It showed her and a man with kind eyes smiling, and between them a baby boy, her son Zane. Outside, wind moved through the broken buildings of Sector 12. The streetlights flickered. A power outage had lasted for 2 days. People were used to it now. This world had changed long ago. But tonight something felt wrong. Lyra looked at the clock. 2:13 a.m. Her heart beat faster. Then, knock, knock, knock. 3 slow knocks on the metal door. She froze. In Sector 12, nothing good ever came at this hour. Zane, only 9 years old, slept in the next room. He didn't know what kind of danger lived outside these walls. Lyra had worked hard to protect him, to hide the truth, but maybe the truth had found her. The knocks came again, louder this time. She quickly moved to Zane's room. He was still asleep, hugging a small pillow. She kissed his forehead, her hands shaking. Then she stepped back to the door. "Who is it?" she asked, her voice weak. Silence. Then came the answer. "By order of the blood law, open the door. We are here for your son." Her heart dropped. "No, please. There must be a mistake," she cried. "We do not make mistakes," the voice replied coldly. "Open the door. Now." Lyra's legs gave way, and she fell to her knees. The blood law. It was real. They had finally come. She opened the door slowly. 4 tall soldiers stood there in black armor. Their faces were hidden behind helmets. One of them stepped forward. His uniform had a red mark, a sign of high command. "I am Commander Voss," he said. "By government order, your son must come with us. You are charged with stealing restricted technology 10 years ago. Under the law of blood, your child will carry your punishment." "No!" Lyra screamed. "He's just a child. He doesn't know anything. Punish me, not him." Commander Voss looked at her for a long moment. Then he stepped inside. "I'm sorry. The law is clear." She fell to his feet. "Please. He's my whole life. You can take me. You can kill me. But not him. Please." Something in Voss's eyes changed. His face was still calm. But for a second, something soft passed through him. He turned to one of the soldiers. "Wait. Let me see the boy first." Lyra hesitated, then slowly walked to Zane's room. Voss followed. Zane had woken up and was sitting on his bed, confused and sleepy. "Mom? Who's that?" Lyra hugged him tight. "It's okay, baby. Just stay close to me." Commander Voss stepped forward and looked at Zane. The boy looked back at him, not afraid, just curious. For a moment, Voss said nothing. Then, very quietly, he whispered, "He has your eyes." Lyra's breath stopped. "What?" Voss looked away. "Nothing. Just protocol." He turned to the soldiers. "We take the child alive. Gently." But Lyra stood in front of Zane like a shield. "You'll have to kill me first." "Please don't make this harder," Voss said. "You have no heart," she whispered. He paused again. Then, slowly, he removed his helmet. Lyra's eyes went wide. She stepped back in shock. "No, it can't be." The man in front of her had a face she remembered from long ago. A face she believed was dead. "You died in Sector 9 10 years ago." Voss looked at her. "I was left to die, but I lived, and I changed." Lyra trembled. You're him." "I was," he said. The other soldiers looked confused. One stepped forward. "Commander, should we take the boy?" Voss didn't answer right away. He kept looking at Zane. Then he said, "Stand down." "What?" I said, "Stand down. Nobody touches the child." The soldiers paused but obeyed. Lyra held Zane close, still shaking. Why are you helping us?" Commander Voss put his helmet back on and turned away. "Because," he said quietly, "some hearts are not made for cruelty." He walked out the door. But Lyra knew this was not the end. It was only the beginning. The screams of the past don't fade. They hide and wait. Commander Voss stood alone in the cold hallway outside Lyra's home. The door behind him was still open. He could hear her breathing hard, holding back tears. His fingers touched the edge of his helmet. Felt heavier now, not from weight but from memory. The wind blew dust through the broken city. Sector 12 was silent again. But inside Voss's mind, Sector 9 still burned. 10 years ago, flames climbed the lab walls. Sirens screamed. Soldiers ran through the smoke, shooting at shadows. Inside the lab, a young woman with blood on her hands ran with a metal briefcase, and a secret growing inside her. Lyra. And behind her, bleeding but still alive, was Voss. He had helped her escape, even though he wasn't supposed to. Even though it made him a traitor. That night he was marked as dead. But he didn't die. Present day. Commander. One of the soldiers spoke, pulling Voss from his thoughts. Are we disobeying orders? Voss looked at him, his voice cold again. No. We're reevaluating the target. The child is not a threat. The soldier hesitated. But the blood law. I know the law, Voss snapped. And I know something they don't. He turned and walked away from the house, leaving the others confused. Inside, Lyra locked the door and fell to the floor. Her hands trembled as she held Zane close. Mom, Zane whispered. Who was that man? She didn't answer right away. He was someone I knew, before you were born. Is he bad? Lyra looked into her son's eyes. I don't know anymore, but deep down, something inside her stirred. Not fear, but something colder. The government hadn't forgotten. They were still watching. And now they wanted Zane. The next morning, Sector 12 news played on the cracked screen in their kitchen. Blood law enforcement reaches new levels, the voice said. Children of traitors are now listed in the genetic watch program. Resistance remains low. Punishment remains permanent. Lyra turned the screen off. She sat in silence. Zane ate his dry cereal, confused but quiet. He always noticed when something was wrong. He just didn't always ask. Finally, she said, You need to be ready, Zane. For what? To run. To hide. Maybe both. Zane nodded slowly. Like a game. Lyra smiled sadly. No, baby. This one isn't a game. Elsewhere, Commander Voss entered the government tower in Sector 1. He walked past scanners, guards, and weapons. His face stayed calm, but his chest felt tight. He entered the office of Director Orlan, the man behind the blood law. Orlan sat behind a desk made of black steel. His eyes were sharp like knives. On the wall behind him were pictures, not of family but of executions. You disobeyed protocol, Commander, Orlan said without looking up. Voss stayed quiet. The child's name is Zane, 9 years old. Born illegally from stolen DNA. Do you know what he is? No, sir. He's not just a child. He's a key. That boy is the only living being with full compatibility to the alien tech stolen from Sector 9. And the mother, she was the thief. Voss clenched his jaw. You want to punish the child for her crime. Orlan stood. No, Commander. I don't want to punish him. I want to use him. Back in Sector 12, Lyra opened the secret floor hatch under her house. A small glowing device lay in a metal box, round, silver, and quietly humming. The same tech she had stolen 10 years ago. She had sworn never to use it. But now they were coming again. She looked up at her son. Zane, it's time. Time for what? She handed him the glowing object. The moment his fingers touched it, it lit up. Bright, loud, alive. Zane's eyes widened. Mom. It feels like it knows me. She nodded, scared. It does. Zane didn't sleep that night. Not because he was afraid, but because the device kept whispering to him. Not in words, in pictures, in dreams. He saw machines floating above oceans, cities burning from the sky, and a dark figure standing in the center of it all with his face. In the other room, Lyra was packing. Clothes, food, wires, and fear. Her hands moved fast, but her heart moved slower. She kept looking over her shoulder, listening for sounds that weren't there. Every shadow felt like an enemy, because now she knew the truth. They didn't come to punish Zane. They came to claim him. Far away, Commander Voss stood in the ruins of Sector 9. The air still smelled like metal and ash, even after 10 years. Here, in this broken place, he had lost everything. His rank, his freedom, and something else no one ever knew, his child. But he wasn't here for the past. He was here because of the present. Voss scanned the old facility with his visor. Lights blinked red. His tech picked up radiation. And something else. Alien code. Still active. Still pulsing. He tapped his earpiece. He's activating the signal. The boy has the device. The voice on the other side replied, "Good. Then the real hunt begins." Back in Sector 12, Zane stared at the silver orb in his hands. It floated now, not heavy like metal, but light like air. It hummed louder when he touched it, like it could feel his thoughts. He turned to his mom. "Why does it, like me?" Lyra knelt beside him, unsure how to explain. She had stolen the device during a failed mission. At the time, it was just alien junk. But then she found out she was pregnant, and the tech started reacting to her. To Zane, even before birth. She spoke softly. "Because it's part of you." Zane looked down. "Am I a machine?" "No," she whispered. "You're more than that. You're proof that something new is coming." Suddenly, the orb flashed blue. A loud beep filled the air. Lyra grabbed it and checked the pulse reading. No, they found us." She looked at Zane. "We have to go. Now." They ran through back alleys, holding nothing but a bag and a glowing orb. The streets were empty, but they both knew eyes were watching. Drones floated overhead, scanning heat signatures. Zane's glow made them easier to find. Just when they reached the edge of Sector 12, a figure blocked their way. Commander Voss. But this time he was alone. No armor. No soldiers. Just a man with a storm in his eyes. Lyra raised her weapon. "Don't come closer. I'm not here to take him," Voss said calmly. Zane stepped behind his mother, scared. Voss slowly took out a small photo, worn and torn. He held it out to her. Lyra grabbed it. Her hands shook. It was a photo of her, years ago, standing beside Voss before the war, before everything. And in her arms, a newborn Zane. She looked up at him, eyes wide. "You knew?" Voss nodded. "I didn't. Not until I saw his eyes." Lyra backed away, confused. "Then why are you here?" Voss pointed toward the sky. "Because the government doesn't want to punish him, Lyra. They want to control him. The tech inside that boy is waking up. And when it fully activates, they'll use him to start another war." Lyra whispered, "I won't let them." "Neither will I," Voss replied. "But we need to leave now, before Director Orlan sends the hunters." In the shadows above them, a silent drone watched and transmitted everything. Far across the city, in a black tower, Director Orlan smiled. "They're together now," he said. "Activate Project Reclaim." "Yes, sir." A new signal was sent, and in Zane's mind, something answered. His eyes flickered with light. He fell to his knees. Lyra rushed to him. "Zane, what's happening?" He looked up at her, eyes glowing faint blue. His voice changed. "He's coming, Mom. The man in my dreams. He's not me, but he wears my face." Zane stood in a field of glass. Not grass, glass. Sharp, cold, endless. Above him, the sky was split in two. One half burned red. The other, deep blue like the ocean before a storm. In the distance, a shadow walked toward him. Same height, same face, same eyes. But not him. "Who are you?" Zane asked. The shadow smiled. "I'm the version they wanted." Zane woke up screaming. His body was covered in sweat, but the air around him was freezing. The orb, the alien tech, floated above him, spinning fast, glowing blue and white. Every time it spun, small sparks flew from it and touched his skin. But Zane didn't cry. He just whispered, "He's getting closer." Lyra and Commander Voss watched in silence. They had taken shelter in an old train station underground, far from Sector 12. The walls were cracked. The floor was wet, but for now it was safe. Voss stepped forward and scanned Zane with a small device. The results blinked red. His DNA isn't stable anymore, Voss said slowly. It's changing. Changing into what? Lyra asked, heart pounding. Voss looked at her. Into something the human body wasn't meant to hold. 10 years ago, Lyra had stolen the device from the Sector 9 research lab. At the time, it was just a piece of forbidden tech. The scientists called it the core. It came from a crashed alien ship. No one understood it except one thing. It didn't work with anyone. Hundreds of test subjects failed. Some died. Some went mad. Then Lyra ran and found out she was pregnant. And the core, it started glowing when she touched it. It stayed active during the entire pregnancy. That's when she knew. The child was the key. Now that child sat silently, watching the core hover in front of him like an old friend. Can you hear it? Voss asked. Zane nodded. It doesn't speak in words. It shows me things. What kind of things? Zane's eyes flickered. Places I've never seen. Machines made from stars. And people who don't look like us, but feel like me. Far away in Sector 1, Director Orlan watched a hologram of Zane's scan. A team of scientists stood behind him. He's bonding with the core faster than predicted, one of them said. Orlan smiled darkly. Good. Begin building the neural extraction chamber. Once we have him, we don't need the mother. Back in the underground shelter, Lyra held her son close. You're not a mistake, she whispered. You're not a monster. Zane looked up at her. Then why do they say I shouldn't exist? Lyra touched his face gently. Because they fear what they don't understand. Voss watched quietly. He felt something deep inside. A strange ache. Not guilt. Not duty. Something stronger. Because now he knew what Lyra had hidden all those years. And now he understood why Zane's eyes looked so familiar. Later that night, while Zane slept, Lyra and Voss sat by the broken window. He's changing fast, Voss said. The tech inside him, it's evolving him, making him more than human. But at what cost? Lyra whispered. There was silence. Then Voss said, he's not the only one they experimented on, you know? She looked at him. They used me too. After I was captured in Sector 9. They injected something into my blood. Something alien. Lyra's eyes widened. You mean? Voss nodded slowly. I wasn't supposed to survive, but I did. He looked toward Zane. And maybe that's why he exists. Suddenly, the orb lit up red. Zane shot awake. His voice changed deeper, colder. He's here. Who? Lyra asked, terrified. Zane pointed upward. The one who built the core, and the one who's coming to take it back. Before there was light, there was sound. A deep, humming vibration filled Zane's ears. Then came the voice. But it wasn't human. Spoke in a strange rhythm. Not like words, more like a song. And somehow he understood it. You are not a weapon yet. Zane's eyes snapped open. He wasn't in the shelter anymore. He was floating weightless, inside a tunnel made of shifting metal walls. Lights pulsed through them like veins. Every second, the walls changed shape, reacting to his thoughts. The core floated beside him. But this wasn't a dream. This was the Labyrinth Zone, a secret space built from alien code and ancient tech. Not part of Earth. Not part of anything known. And Zane had just unlocked it. Back in the real world, Lyra screamed. Zane's body was frozen. Eyes open but glowing. Not blinking. Not breathing. The orb hovered above him, humming louder than ever before. He's trapped inside, Voss said, checking readings on his scanner. His mind's inside the tech. He unlocked a level we didn't even know existed. Can you bring him back? Lyra asked. Voss didn't answer, because truth was he wasn't sure. Inside the labyrinth, Zane floated forward. Strange symbols blinked in the air around him. With each step, memories not his own began to enter his mind. Worlds destroyed, civilizations erased, and a machine with 1,000 eyes watching it all. Then, a door appeared in front of him. Tall, silver, pulsing. He touched it, and suddenly, he saw everything. He saw his mother years ago running through the Sector 9 lab. He saw Commander Voss, strapped to a table injected with alien serum. He saw Director Orlan, watching from behind a glass wall, smiling. And he saw himself being born, while the core pulsed in sync with his heart. Zane whispered, "I was never normal. I was made." Then the voice returned. "You are the bridge between two species, but even a bridge can break." Meanwhile, alarms rang across the old subway tunnels. Voss stood, weapon ready. A rebel contact had sent a signal. "Who's coming?" Lyra asked. "Friends," Voss replied. "Maybe." Moments later, a group of rebel survivors appeared from the shadows. Old uniforms, rough faces, scars of the last war, but still alive. One woman stepped forward. Her left arm was robotic. Her eyes scanned Zane's glowing body. "You said he's connected to the core?" she asked. Voss nodded. "Not just connected. He's inside it." The woman took a deep breath. "Then we're already out of time." Inside the labyrinth, the walls began to close. The voice grew louder. "Others are coming. They will take your mind. They will take your gift." Zane shouted, "No, I won't let them." Suddenly, the core responded, pulsing in rhythm with his heartbeat. Zane reached forward and rewrote the walls. The labyrinth bent to his will. The core glowed brighter. And Zane, for the first time, fought back. Back in the tunnel, the orb exploded with light. Zane gasped, returning to his body. He fell into Lyra's arms, shaking. "I saw it," he whispered. "The labyrinth, the truth, the future." Voss looked at him. "What did you learn?" Zane looked up, his voice steady. "They didn't just make me to control the core. They made me because something worse is coming." Lyra asked, "Worse than the government?" Zane nodded slowly. "Something not from this world." The wind didn't blow. The birds didn't sing. And the core had gone silent. Zane stood at the edge of the ruined station platform, staring into the tunnel ahead, as if something was calling to him. He didn't hear words. He felt pressure, like gravity pulling not just his body, but his mind. Behind him, Voss tightened his grip on his weapon. He had seen this before, right before everything went wrong. Flashback 10 years ago. Sector 9's research lab. Emergency lights flashed. Sirens echoed. Young Voss stood in a steel hallway, holding a bloodied security badge in one hand and a plasma pistol in the other. He looked at the glass wall ahead. Inside, the original prototype of the core. Wired to a chair sat a boy, older than Zane, eyes blank, body shaking. And beside him, a voice whispered through a speaker, "We're not building soldiers. We're building replacements." Voss pulled the trigger. The glass shattered. The program was never shut down. Present day. Zane suddenly turned around. "They're here." Lyra looked up. "Who?" He pointed to the ceiling. A small black needle drone flew down from a crack in the concrete, then another. And another. Voss cursed. Too late. Dozens of drones swarmed the room, releasing a sharp electric pulse. Zane screamed and collapsed, the core lighting up like lightning. Rebel fighters fired back, but it was no use. Through the chaos, a voice echoed from the drones. "Initiating protocol reclaim. Target. Subject Z1. They took Zane. In seconds, the swarm carried his unconscious body into the tunnel and vanished into darkness. Lyra chased, screaming. Voss held her back. "We can't go after them blind." "Let me go," she cried. But he didn't, because he knew where they had taken the boy, and he knew what was waiting there. Sector 0, Government Research Base. Deep underground, machines buzzed. Liquid tanks bubbled. Monitors flashed lines of alien code. Zane lay inside a floating chamber, wires in his arms, chest, and neck. His body twitched as something scanned his thoughts. Director Orlan stood behind the glass. "He's almost ready," the doctor said. Orlan smiled. "Begin merging him with the Nexus core." Meanwhile, Voss and Lyra prepared to break in. They stood at the edge of a dark canyon, the entrance to Sector 0 hidden beneath layers of security. Voss handed Lyra a memory chip. "What is this?" she asked. "My insurance," he said. "If I don't come back, this will shut down the lab forever." Lyra looked at him. "Why are you doing this?" Voss paused, then said the one truth he had kept hidden all along. "Because he's my son too." Inside the lab, Zane's mind opened. He was floating again, but this time not alone. Another presence was there. Bigger, colder, older than anything human. "You were born from my design. Now return to me." Zane screamed. The core inside him began to shift, trying to merge with the foreign presence. But then, another voice broke through the noise. A human voice. His mother. "Zane, you're not a weapon. You're my boy. Come back to me." Zane's body began to fight. Alarms blared. The core pulsed violently. In the control room, systems crashed. Sparks flew. Doctors ran. And in the chaos, Voss arrived. With fire in his eyes, Voss stormed through the lab, taking down guards one by one. He reached the chamber. Zane was trapped inside, screaming. Without hesitation, Voss smashed the control panel. "Hang on, son," he said, but the chamber locked tight. Failsafe. Only one way to open it now, from the inside. Voss removed his weapon, took a deep breath, looked at Lyra one last time, then stepped into the power core chamber and manually overloaded it. A blinding light exploded through the room. Lyra pulled Zane free as the system shut down. He coughed, eyes wide. "Where's Voss?" She held him close, tears falling. "He saved you." They looked at the smoking chamber, but there was nothing left, except a dog tag burned, but still whole. Zane stood in the ashes. All around him, metal, glass, broken machines, burned wires. The lab that once tried to own him was gone. The only thing left standing was him. And in his hand, a single dog tag scorched silent. Voss. ID 179B. Status. Unknown. The boy who wasn't supposed to exist had survived. But the man who once called him son had not. Outside, the sky over Sector 0 turned gray. Lyra sat beside her son, wrapping a worn blanket around his shoulders. She didn't speak. She just looked at him. Zane had changed. His skin was warm, but his eyes now carried a light that didn't belong to Earth. The core had become part of him. Fully, completely. But somehow he was still her child. Above them, old-world screens flickered to life. Across every sector, cities, bunkers, rebel outposts, a message appeared. Zane Lyra Voss, the first of his kind. Wanted, alive or dead. The government was falling apart, but the fear remained. Later that night, Zane walked alone through the ruins of Sector 0. He could feel every frequency in the air. The wind moved differently now. Machines whispered to him like old friends. He reached the edge of a platform overlooking a valley of broken towers. Suddenly, a figure appeared in front of him. Tall, silver-skinned, glowing eyes. Not human, not machine, something else. The presence from the labyrinth. "You've awakened, hybrid. You carry our code and their heart. That is dangerous." Zane stepped forward. "I didn't ask to be made, but you were. Now you must choose. Become the future or destroy it." Lyra arrived moments later, out of breath, clutching a signal device. "Zane," she called. He turned. His eyes still glowed, but they were wet with tears. "Mom, I don't want to hurt anyone," he said. "But if I don't stop them, more kids like me will suffer." Lyra placed her hand on his chest. "You were born from pain, but raised with love. That's your power." The next morning, across all sectors, something impossible happened. The core shut down. Every stolen piece of alien tech, every drone, weapon, tower stopped working. One by one, the symbols faded from screens. Zane had sent a signal. A single command. No more. Director Orlon was found days later, hiding in the remains of his tower, babbling about machines that refused to obey. Rebel sectors reunited. Peace talks began. People finally saw Zane not as a weapon, not as a project, but as a boy who made a choice. 1 year later, in a quiet field far from the city, Zane stood beside a small stone. Here lies Commander Voss, soldier, traitor, father. Zane placed the dog tag on top of it and whispered, "Thank you for choosing mercy." He turned to his mother. "What now?" he asked. She smiled. "Now we live." Zane looked at the sky. It no longer looked broken, just big and full of questions. But this time he wasn't afraid. He was ready to find the answers, not as a machine, not as a weapon, but as someone who was never meant to exist and still chose to protect.